Decode Your Destiny. Introduction. In the introduction of Decode Your Destiny, Mapping the Journey to Your True Potential, Farooq Khan lays the intellectual and emotional foundation for what becomes a deeply transformative journey, inviting readers to confront one of life's most powerful yet misunderstood forces, destiny. Khan begins by challenging the passive and fatalistic interpretations of destiny that often leave individuals feeling helpless or resigned to their circumstances. Rather than viewing life as something that simply happens, he argues that destiny is not a fixed script written by fate, but a dynamic outcome shaped by our perceptions, beliefs, decisions, and actions. Drawing from his 2 decades of global experience in leadership development, personal growth, and humanitarian work, Khan emphasizes that our mental programming, acquired through culture, upbringing, and societal conditioning, often limits our ability to dream big, take initiative, or think independently. The introduction urges readers to re-examine their internal narratives, the beliefs they carry about themselves and the world, and to become conscious of the stories that influence their daily choices. Khan identifies the core of the human struggle as a misalignment between who we are and who we are capable of becoming. He offers a new lens through which to view destiny, not as something mystical or predetermined, but as something logical, traceable, and influenceable through structured self-inquiry and action. He introduces the idea of the 4 Ws: wisdom, wealth, wellness, and work, asserting that a meaningful and well-balanced life requires harmony across these 4 pillars. He also touches on the profound gap between knowledge and action, stating that many people know what they need to do but lack the self-awareness or systems to execute those insights consistently. In this context, the book does not promise quick fixes or overnight success, but rather a strategic reorientation of one's life toward authenticity, courage, and clarity. Khan sets the tone for the rest of the book by blending philosophical depth with practical guidance, encouraging readers to become the authors of their own story. He uses the metaphor of a mirror to describe the first phase of transformation, looking deeply and honestly at oneself, not to judge but to understand and awaken. The introduction ultimately serves as a wake-up call, inviting readers to move from passivity to purpose, from confusion to clarity, and from surviving to thriving. By the end of the introduction, it becomes clear that decoding one's destiny is not about predicting the future but about understanding the present with enough depth and discipline to reshape the course of one's life. The message is bold yet compassionate. You are not stuck, your story isn't over, and the power to transform your life lies within your ability to decode your own truth. Chapter 1: The Mirror. Farooq Khan initiates the reader into the first and perhaps most vital stage of personal transformation, deep self-reflection. Using the metaphor of a mirror, he compels individuals to look beyond the surface of their lives and examine their internal world, their thoughts, beliefs, habits, identities, and past decisions, not with judgment but with courageous honesty. Khan explains that most people go through life unconsciously, living according to mental programs inherited from society, family, religion, and culture, rarely questioning whether those beliefs serve their highest potential. This chapter challenges readers to ask themselves whether they are truly living their own life or merely fulfilling the scripts handed down to them. The mirror, in this context, becomes a tool for revelation and awakening. Khan introduces the idea that every person operates through a lens, a unique filter of perception, that affects how they interpret the world and respond to it. He asserts that understanding and eventually reshaping this lens is crucial, because it determines how we react to adversity, make choices, and pursue goals. The chapter examines how subconscious conditioning limits our behaviors and decisions, keeping us stuck in patterns that often feel inescapable, and how awareness is the first step to breaking free. Through this exploration, Khan underscores that the external results in our lives, our relationships, careers, health, and happiness, are all reflections of the internal condition of our mind and spirit. The mirror forces us to question, who am I really beneath all the labels? What stories have I been telling myself that are no longer true? What lies have I accepted about my worth, potential, or future? He presents the idea that transformation begins not by adding new skills or affirmations, but by subtracting illusions, by peeling away the false layers of identity we've adopted over time. Khan also discusses the difference between reacting and responding, noting that a person who has not examined their inner world will react impulsively, often defensively, to external events, while a self-aware individual responds intentionally, with purpose and clarity. This chapter also introduces the importance of emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and self-dialogue as tools to help navigate the process of self-inquiry. He explains that emotions, when properly understood, are signals, not threats, and that by paying attention to them, we can uncover unmet needs, suppressed fears, and hidden desires that shape our behavior. The mirror does not shy away from discomfort. In fact, Khan suggests that true self-growth requires walking through the discomfort of truth, because it is only in facing our own reflection, flaws, fears, and all, that we can begin to take ownership of our destiny. He calls out the human tendency to blame others or circumstances for our problems and instead empowers readers to reclaim their agency by accepting responsibility for their thoughts and choices. Importantly, Khan integrates practical exercises in this chapter, encouraging readers to journal about limiting beliefs, reflect on childhood programming, and identify the mental scripts that govern their reactions. He also introduces the concept of belief auditing, where one begins to question the validity and origin of their most deeply held assumptions, especially those that keep them stuck in patterns of fear, procrastination, or self-sabotage. The chapter culminates in the realization that without honest self-awareness, no amount of goal-setting or motivational input will lead to lasting change, because we cannot build a new life on a foundation of unconsciousness. By holding up the mirror, Khan invites readers to become observers of their own minds, to practice detachment from ego-driven narratives, and to cultivate a deeper sense of purpose rooted in authenticity rather than performance or external validation. He emphasizes that the journey of decoding destiny cannot begin with action alone. It must begin with clarity. And clarity, in turn, arises from awareness, an awareness that can only emerge when one is brave enough to pause, to reflect, and to meet their own eyes in the mirror without flinching. Through this transformative lens, Khan lays the groundwork for the rest of the book, asserting that true empowerment starts with knowing who you are, what you stand for, and why you've chosen the life path you're on. If that life path was chosen for you, by others' expectations, by fear, or by accident, then this chapter gently but firmly suggests that it's time to pause and choose again, this time consciously. Chapter 2, The Map. Farooq Khan shifts the reader's focus from self-awareness to purposeful design, laying out a structured blueprint for how to create a meaningful and intentional life by understanding and aligning with what he terms the 4 Ws: wisdom, wealth, wellness, and work. This chapter serves as the strategic heart of the book, where Khan invites readers to move from merely observing themselves as introduced in The Mirror, to actively architecting their lives. He emphasizes that knowing who you are is only the first step. The next is to decide where you're going and how you'll get there with clarity, direction, and a framework that reflects your deepest values. Each of the 4 Ws represents a vital domain of human experience that, when harmonized, contributes to a balanced, fulfilling life. Wisdom, Khan explains, is not just about accumulating knowledge, but about developing discernment, the ability to make sound decisions rooted in understanding, emotional intelligence, and purpose. He encourages readers to become lifelong learners, question their assumptions, and seek truths that empower rather than enslave. Wealth, the second W, is redefined by Khan beyond material accumulation. It becomes about understanding the energy of money, being intentional with resources, and viewing financial health as a tool for freedom rather than status. He challenges limiting beliefs around money and encourages building habits that promote long-term sustainability and generosity. Wellness, the third W, encompasses both physical and mental well-being, highlighting the often overlooked connection between self-care and destiny. Khan insists that a sick body or a scattered mind cannot support a powerful vision, and thus prioritizing health is non-negotiable. He explores habits, sleep, nutrition, and mindfulness as daily disciplines that keep one aligned with their potential. Lastly, work is portrayed not just as a job or profession, but as a calling, the contribution one makes to the world. Khan urges readers to reflect on whether their current occupation reflects their authentic self or simply pays the bills, and if it's the latter, he provides a path toward discovering work that is not only purposeful but joyful. Across all 4 domains, he weaves in stories, prompts, and decision-making tools to help readers assess their current positioning, identify gaps, and chart realistic paths forward. The concept of the map becomes even more powerful as Khan introduces the idea that clarity of vision reduces anxiety and increases momentum. Without a destination, life becomes a series of reactive movements rather than intentional strides. He also addresses resistance and fear, reminding readers that discomfort is part of the journey, but with a map in hand, one can navigate even the most uncertain terrain with resilience and adaptability. Ultimately, this chapter is a call to design a life consciously rather than stumble through it by default, and Khan empowers readers to claim authorship of their future by aligning their choices with a well-rounded, principle-driven map that integrates intellect, emotion, values, and ambition into one coherent life plan. Chapter 3, The Mentor. Farooq Khan explores one of the most critical yet often underappreciated elements of personal transformation, the guiding force that bridges the gap between self-awareness, the mirror, and strategic action, the map mentorship. Khan broadens the conventional definition of a mentor from being merely a wise advisor or teacher to a much more expansive and layered concept. One that includes not only external guides but also internalized wisdom, life experiences, and even spiritual or philosophical principles that shape our understanding and decision-making. The chapter asserts that while discovering oneself and charting a direction are foundational, they are not sufficient without ongoing guidance, support, and feedback. A mentor, in Khan's vision, does not hand you answers but helps you frame the right questions. They don't lead you through shortcuts, but illuminate blind spots and challenge you to rise higher than your self-imposed limitations. He shares stories of how his own journey in development, leadership training, and humanitarian work was shaped not just by knowledge, but by the presence of voices, both living and historical, that provoked, guided, and redirected him during moments of doubt, failure, and transformation. Khan emphasizes that mentors can come in unexpected forms: a book, a setback, a profound conversation, or even a moment of silence, and what matters most is the attitude of the seeker. He discusses the idea that one must be mentor-able, open, humble, curious, and willing to be corrected, to benefit from guidance, as ego and arrogance are the greatest barriers to growth. Another critical theme of the chapter is the dual role each individual plays, that of a mentee and eventually a mentor. Khan encourages readers not only to seek wisdom but also to embody it and pass it on, creating a virtuous cycle of knowledge and empowerment. The mentor is portrayed not as a savior but as a mirror with a voice, someone who helps us see who we truly are and who we can become, someone who speaks to both our potential and our pitfalls. Through the lens of mentorship, Khan also introduces the importance of accountability structures and feedback loops, tools that ensure that our plans, from the map, don't just remain aspirations but translate into consistent, grounded action. He examines how mentorship accelerates learning, helps avoid costly mistakes, and offers emotional resilience during challenging phases of life. Khan includes practical strategies for finding the right mentors, such as identifying individuals aligned with your values, being proactive in asking for guidance, and nurturing relationships that are rooted in mutual respect rather than hero worship. He also warns against blindly following authority figures and instead promotes critical thinking and discernment, noting that a true mentor empowers independence, not dependency. Importantly, he speaks to the inner mentor, the cultivated voice of one's higher self, developed through intentional reflection, reading, journaling, spiritual practice, and the synthesis of past experiences. This internal compass, Khan argues, is especially vital when external mentors are unavailable, and serves as the ultimate guiding force through life's complexities. He blends Eastern and Western philosophies, referencing both Sufi wisdom and modern leadership theories, to demonstrate how mentorship has been central to human development across cultures and epochs. He also introduces the 5 filters of mentorship: wisdom, integrity, experience, empathy, and relevance, tools readers can use to evaluate the quality and impact of those they allow to influence their lives. By the end of the chapter, it becomes clear that mentorship is not a luxury but a necessity for anyone serious about decoding their destiny. It serves not only as guidance but as a protective layer against the confusion, fear, and chaos that often accompany personal growth. In a world overflowing with information and distraction, the mentor, both external and internal, is a source of clarity, stability, and truth. Khan concludes the chapter by encouraging readers to actively seek and become mentors, to build communities of guidance, and to recognize that our destinies are not isolated pursuits, but collective journeys shaped through interaction, wisdom sharing, and mutual upliftment. Ultimately, the mentor reinforces the book's central philosophy. While the path to purpose begins within, it is navigated with the help of others who illuminate the way, and by becoming a mentor yourself, you complete the circle of transformation, turning personal growth into communal impact. Conclusion. In the conclusion of Decode Your Destiny, Mapping the Journey to Your True Potential, Farooq Khan brings the reader full circle on the journey of self-transformation by tying together all the elements explored throughout the book: self-awareness, strategic life design, mentorship, and the active role one must play in shaping their own destiny. Khan underscores the importance of not merely being a passive observer of one's life but rather an active participant who takes deliberate, conscious steps toward creating the future they desire. He reiterates the central theme that destiny is not a preordained or fixed entity that simply unfolds without our influence. Instead, Khan argues, we have the power to shape our futures through our choices, actions, and the mindset we adopt. He emphasizes that decoding your destiny is about consciously crafting your path, guided by clarity of purpose, authenticity, and personal values. Drawing upon the metaphorical tools introduced earlier in the book, the mirror, the map, and the mentor, Khan stresses that transformation is not just an abstract or theoretical concept, but a series of actionable steps that begin with profound self-reflection. The mirror, as Khan reminds the reader, helps us to deeply understand our inner world, revealing our fears, insecurities, limiting beliefs, and untapped potential. The map, on the other hand, represents the tangible plan we need to bring our dreams and aspirations to life, helping us prioritize, stay focused, and organize our energies around the four key pillars of life: wisdom, wealth, wellness, and work. However, the journey from self-awareness to actualization is not undertaken in isolation. Khan emphasizes the critical role that mentorship plays in this process, both in seeking guidance from others and in becoming a mentor to others, as part of a cycle of giving and receiving wisdom. He stresses that no one succeeds alone, and that the collective wisdom of mentors, peers, and community can offer insights, perspectives, and tools that accelerate personal and professional growth. He also points out that mentorship is not just about learning from others but about developing the maturity and wisdom to mentor and inspire others in return. This reciprocal relationship of mentorship is seen as one of the keys to not only individual success but also social and collective transformation. In the concluding message, Khan moves beyond personal empowerment and speaks to the larger impact one can have when they consciously step into their power. He encourages readers to not only decode their own destinies but to inspire and empower others in their communities, workplaces, and families. By embracing the principles outlined in the book, individuals can create a ripple effect, where their own transformation contributes to the transformation of those around them. Khan posits that the true power of transformation is not just personal achievement but the ability to uplift others in the process, thereby creating a world that thrives on mutual support, wisdom sharing, and collective empowerment. The final call to action is clear. Destiny is a choice, and through intentional, guided action, individuals can create lives of fulfillment, purpose, and significance. The conclusion ties everything together by stressing that although life will inevitably present challenges, setbacks, and failures, our ability to respond to these challenges with resilience, wisdom, and clarity will determine the outcomes of our journey. Khan ends by reminding readers that they are the architects of their own lives, with the power to craft their future through conscious choices, continuous learning, and by stepping into the role of both mentee and mentor. The journey to decoding one's destiny is an ongoing process, one that requires commitment, courage, and a willingness to grow and evolve with each passing day. By following the principles laid out in the book, Khan offers a vision of life that is not governed by fate or chance but by deliberate action, inner strength, and the pursuit of higher purpose. Ultimately, the conclusion reinforces that decoding your destiny is not a single destination but a lifelong journey of growth, contribution, and personal evolution that leads to not only individual fulfillment but collective transformation.